North Decatur Road. Important to mention, not Briarcliff, that's shut down. This is a shot from our camera, which is poised up on the Fox 5 broadcast tower. And this is going to show you just how close the television station is to where all of this unfolded at the CVS drugstore across the street from the CDC headquarters. I mean, you can certainly walk there from here. And when our marketing manager, Rick Snyder, went out into the back of the parking lot to go home for the night, he heard the gunshots going off where all of this happened.
Yeah, it's so close to our building here. Our Russ Spencer was the one who interviewed Rick, talking about those first moments when this all started to transpire. Russ, if we can get Russ back now just to talk about just walking us through the timeline of how this all began, Russ.
Well, Courtney and Tom, it began around 5 o'clock this afternoon, and my first hint that something was wrong was when I saw Rick in the newsroom, and he was literally shaken. I'm told by our control room that this press conference is going to begin any moment now. We'll throw to that as soon as it does. In the meantime, I'll let you know that Rick heard 8 or 10 shots, and he apparently has experience in a gun range and knew immediately that they were long guns, and came back very shaken. Our assumption was that perhaps this was at the CDC, because you can see the CDC buildings from our back parking lot. As we got Skyfox 5 over the scene, we realized that it was across the street. The focus of police attention was across the street, across Clifton Road, and we were stunned immediately by the response from police and by the fact that they apparently were under fire, extreme fire, from someone inside that CVS. Huddled, cowering behind, I shouldn't say cowering, that suggests fear, although they'd be crazy if they weren't afraid to some extent. They were protecting themselves behind a DeKalb police vehicle that had gunshot wounds through the windshield, through the front of the car, to the extent that, okay, I'm told that the news conference is not going to happen at this moment, so we'll continue to let you know what happened in the early moments of this. Again, it began around 5 o'clock this afternoon, and DeKalb police officers were there in force, pointing their guns in the direction of the CVS, and then ultimately entered, and it wasn't long after that that a body was pulled from the CVS and placed under a sheet, and we now know that that was in fact the killer. All right, I'm going to toss now to Eric Perry. Eric is on the scene. Apparently someone has been arrested there. Eric, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Russ, I hate to interrupt you. You were doing such a good job, but my photographer pointed out, take a look at the man in the plaid shirt there. He is in handcuffs. I'm not sure his relation to any of this, but they did bring him out, and you can clearly see his hands behind his back there, and there are handcuffs around him. I'm not sure his connection to any of this, but there is some connection that we see as he has been detained. I'm not sure if he's been arrested or charges or anything of that, but we just see someone with handcuffs here on the scene, so I wanted to make sure that we are bringing you the latest here as well. His back is turned, looks like some sort of plaid, looks like a white male that has hands behind his back, and it looks like they are placing him, let's see, yep, they're placing him now inside of a police patrol car as well. Of course, this is hopefully something that news conference that they will bring up to us or they can answer, but it looks like they are placing an individual in handcuffs inside of an Atlanta police car, and they just closed that door. So I just wanted to break in just really quick to bring you that as that was happening live on the air.
Eric, this is breaking news. Thank you for that information. As you point out, we don't know why that person is in handcuffs, whether it's related to what happened earlier today or not. When we have some more information about that, we will pass it on to you. In the meantime, I do have new information that the news conference related to this, where we're going to hopefully hear more details about the killer himself and what his motive might have been, perhaps, is scheduled for 7:30, so 14 minutes from now. So this is a live look at the Kroger where that is going to take place. As we've been pointing out, that is right up Clifton Road toward Briarcliff. basically at the corner of Briarcliff and Clifton, so it would be down the street from this perspective. We're looking now down Clifton Road. The CDC is to the left. The CVS is immediately to the right. And about a half an hour ago, I was watching this very GDOT camera and saw 24 police officers, APDs on the scene, DeKalb Police, and the FBI, and they walked down the CDC Parkway to the left in the direction of the CDC, not with any guns drawn or anything like that. They walked in that direction, perhaps to continue the investigation, because it's our understanding that perhaps as many as 3 CDC buildings were shot at. Building 21, Building 24, and perhaps Building 18. And we've shown you some of the gunshot impacts at what looked to be not the ground floor. We don't know particularly what floor, but it was higher up on the building. So it would seem to suggest that would mitigate against it being a stray bullet that was fired at police and ended up in the direction of the CDC. There's one of the impacts. As Tom has pointed out, these are impact-resistant windows, and we do not think that a bullet entered the CDC building because it is a sensitive place, and they have made sure that that the folks inside are protected. So, Tom and Courtney, I'll send it back to you. We're apparently going to hear from police what they know at this point in about 12 minutes at the moment.
You know, Russ, I don't know a whole lot about rifles. I don't know if you do. Rick obviously does, because he heard the sound of what he described as long rifles.
Right.
But to make it from the CVS over the CDC campus and up to one of those windows, you have to imagine that was one powerful rifle. I mean, and then we saw the impact that the bullet made in the window, the impact-resistant window. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
It is, and it seems unlikely that it was an accident, but perhaps police will be able to shed some light on that. Obviously, we're so early in the investigation, and we don't want to be offering up opinions or things that we have not confirmed. But I think it's fair to say, based on observing what's happened there at the CDC and the fact that as many as 3 buildings were hit, that doesn't sound like an accident.
No, indeed. And again, as you said, we just don't know if the CDC was an intended target or if this was just a crazy person on the loose inside of a CVS drugstore.
Yeah, but also scary that you'd be shooting over the daycare center to be able to leave a bullet hole in one of those buildings. I think it was Building 24 that is located directly behind where that daycare center is, where we understand children are still there. We spoke with at least one father who's waiting to pick up his child. Let's get out to our Deidre Dukes. She's been talking with people near the scene of where this all happened. Deidre, what are you hearing?
As you can imagine, this has just been a very frightening, upsetting incident for anyone who was on lockdown in this area, who would come upon this scene and see, we still have fire trucks still making their way here, dozens of police cars, lights still flashing on scene, unmarked vehicles, police cars from several jurisdictions. While we were on, just within the past half hour or so, we saw GEMA arrive on scene, as well as the FBI, and also had some other jurisdictions coming into this area. As I said, just talking to people, some who were waiting here for their loved ones to actually walk out of the area that was for a great time on lockdown, and who remains on lockdown. We're told, you can see that the mayor, Mayor Andre Dickens, is in the area, of course, responding to this emergency to try to get some information as far as what is going on, what transpired. But as you might imagine, you had several people who arrived here to pick up loved ones and were unable to do anything other than wait and communicate with them on the phone, as this area was on total lockdown. Now, since the total lockdown has been released, we are seeing individuals starting to walk out on foot. Again, cars are not being allowed to travel in and out of the immediate area where that investigation is underway. But we talked to a young lady who actually was on lockdown, received one of those alerts, and called her mother, telling her mother what was going on. Her mother rushed here, and we talked to the mom as she was waiting here for her daughter, and then talked to her daughter once she was able to walk out and be reunited with her mother. And here's what they had to say. Miss Briggs, if you could just tell me how you found out what was going on.
My daughter lives right here at Emory Point and just called me. I was on my way to see her tonight and told me what was going on, that she just heard gunshots and that there was an active shooter and that they were on lockdown.
Yeah. What goes through your mind as a parent when you hear something like that, especially in today's times?
Fear. But, I mean, we told her just to stay away from the windows and to, be safe, don't open the door for anyone, and I'll be there soon.
As far as how the situation was handled, several alerts went out from CDC, the police, Emory. Your reaction to the response that we're seeing both on scene and just the way the various agencies and the hospitals and everybody handled this.
The communication was great. Her concern was a lot of different news stories and different channels and not sure what to believe. So I just told her, I'm like, well, I'll get there and I'll see what I can. If it looks safe, then you come out. But she just heard all over that the suspect has been taken care of, and so that they're no longer on a lockdown and she can come out. But I can't go get to her, so now she has to walk to me.
Tell me a little bit about what happened this afternoon for you, from your perspective.
I was just sitting in my living room like a normal afternoon and heard gunshots, heard the siren safety alarm started going off, and one of my friends had sent me a screenshot that Emory had sent out because I didn't really know what to think was going on.
The gunshots, were they popping rapidly? How would you describe it?
Popping, and I would say it was for longer than a minute. It wasn't just quick and it's over. It went on.
You heard it there from someone who was actually within the vicinity when those gunshots rang out. As you might imagine, terrifying for all those who were in the area. As you said, even there at our station, which is nearby, we had staff who heard that rapid gunfire and immediately returned to our newsroom. We can tell you that there are still a lot of people milling about out here who are either waiting for people or perhaps are not being allowed. I would imagine the closer you get to the actual crime scene itself, perhaps aren't being allowed back into their residences, as you have several residences here in addition to the businesses and, of course, the area that is on lockdown where the crime happened. So right now, just still very active in this area. Police being very controlled situation as far as the traffic that they're allowing back and forth. And that's what we're seeing out here at this hour.
Yeah, Deidre, you're on the other side of where all this happened from where Eric is, closer to Emory University Hospital. Looks kind of like a quieter situation on that side of Clifton Road than Eric's side, where all of these officers staged their vehicles. We saw those SWAT vehicles rushing up that hill on Clifton Road toward the CVS. So it was quite a scene when all of this unfolded. So
much going on and so many different perspectives. As Deidre was out talking with people, you just imagine all the people that are related to that situation there, from the Emory community, from the CDC community, and otherwise. Now, we want to take you back to the moments when this first started unfolding, and we're just getting some new video into our newsroom now. We're going to actually just go ahead and stop talking so you can listen in, and we understand that you'll hear about 20 gunshots in this video. Let's take a listen.
Wow, that looks like it was taken from someone's apartment. Right on top of the CVS, okay? Because you have the CVS drugstore there in the corner, and then on top of the CVS, you have people's apartments. So this person opens their window and hears this. Can you imagine how terrified they were, but had the presence of mind to roll on this from their phone?
My goodness.
With traffic still going by the way.
Traffic driving by, and also, just think of the time it takes to pull out your phone and hit record. So there had to be more shots fired before what we saw. I counted 18 gunshots just in rapid succession.
So if you look on the left side of the screen, we have the perspective of the apartments. That person only had to be, like where that police car is, a couple of floors above. Like
That's
you can
right.
see where the little patio is there. And presumably, we showed you the picture of the CDC earlier where one of those bullets impacted the bullet resistant window or the impact resistant window. But the sound of that rifle or long gun, which was described to us earlier, was just piercing.
Yeah, just really chilling video there. Let's get back out to our Russ Spencer, who's been just detailing some of the timeline of how all of this unfolded, Russ.
Well, again, we heard Eric Perry talk to a witness who heard that go on for 7 minutes. He said 7 or 8 minutes. It's hard even to imagine. And when you hear that, and then to hear that one officer has been shot and one other person has been wounded, but no one else, in all of those gunshots, that really is kind of remarkable as well. Okay, it's 7:27 on this Friday night. Mayor Andre Dickens and Atlanta Police Chief Darren Shearbaum are expected to address the media now in less than 3 minutes. We'll look forward to hearing from them at the Kroger at the corner of Clifton Road and Briarcliff. In the meantime, let me share with you some of the reaction from our elected officials here in Georgia. We heard from the governor earlier. The governor saying that he and Marty and the girls are keeping everyone in their prayers and are ready to respond. And here's what we have from Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr. On X, he says, "We are horrified by the news out of Emory University and praying for the safety of the entire campus community. We stand ready to assist our law enforcement partners with whatever they may need." And Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock, he says, "I'm monitoring the active shooter incident at Emory closely. I'm praying for the officer who was injured and all students and faculty. I am devastated," he writes, "that our community is facing yet another tragedy of gun violence." Again, that from U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock. So there we have the live picture up on the left-hand side of your screen. Clifton Road still closed, presumably will be for the rest of this evening as police investigate, given the enormity of what's happened there and the number of shots fired and the fact that as many as 3 buildings at the CDC may have been targeted. All right, I'm just getting news from our control room that the news conference that was initially scheduled for 7:15, pushed back to 7:30, has now been pushed back to 7:45. Like us, they want to get it right, and they certainly are entitled to the time to put it all together, to give us the fullest picture they can this early on as to what has happened. We do not have the identity of the shooter at this point. I have seen some folks on social media asking us to show the shooter's picture. We don't have it. We don't have an identity at this point. Perhaps police do. One would think that at this point they probably do. We'll find out here in about 15 minutes, Courtney and Tom.
Sorry, you were going to jump in?
Yeah, I'm just going back to that video where we saw what I counted as 18 shots in rapid succession. And going back to our marketing director, Rick Snyder, who had a sort of a firsthand view of this when the sirens went off. He was in our back parking lot and heard sirens after the gunshots, which he also heard. He described it as what sounded like a long gun, some kind of a rifle. But it'll be interesting to find out what kind of magazine, what kind of capability that firearm had to be able to fire 18 shots in succession like that. I'm not sure that police will be able to give us that information this soon when they do come out and speak at the news conference. But that is one of the questions that I would have, because it just didn't sound like there was time to reload in between the 18 shots that I counted.
If I could read, because we're coming to you on our streaming app Fox Local, which of course then proliferates and goes across many platforms, including YouTube, where a lot of people are watching us now. Somebody commented that they heard the gunshots and it sounded like a hammer beating on something, and that's a good way to describe the intensity of the sound that came from that gun. It's just so loud and so intense that, you know, it could pierce right through you. Or if you were in that area, or like the person who had the presence of mind to take out their phone, given the danger that they might have found themselves in, to roll on that. While we wait for this news conference, do you want to play the gunshots once again? Because that brings this whole thing into perspective. So let's listen. So that video taken from one of the apartments above the CVS where all of this happened just before 5 o'clock this afternoon. A police officer and another victim were transported to Emory University Hospital, which is just a walk up the street toward North Decatur Road, only yards away from where that happened. Thank goodness medical response teams were so close. You have the CDC campus right across the street, a heavily fortified institution there, federal property, heavily guarded, and so the response of officers was rapid and quick, and their ability to neutralize the shooter. We now know that it was one gunman involved here was impressive to say the least. We're just so glad that there were no other casualties reported, and so now I'm guessing because the CDC is across the street, it's a federal building, and that's why you had the FBI coming in there, federal investigators.
Fairly early on, I might add.
Right,
too.
yeah, right out of the gates
Yeah.
when all of this happened.
And so much to secure. Again, we were getting that video from someone who was taking the video from their apartment. So many people who actually live in this area, and I can't imagine how that must feel to be ordered to shelter in place during a situation like this in your home. Let's get back out to our Eric Perry, who's been there on the ground. Eric, what are things like there now?
Hey, Courtney, Tom, Russ, everyone back there at the studio. So I'm talking on the phone to someone who lives right above that CVS. Okay, thanks so much for joining us. You're talking with us now in the air. We really do appreciate it. Walk us through when you heard those gunshots there and really what all happened.
Yeah, so I thought it was like fireworks or like construction. It was like an hour and a half ago. I'm guessing they were from like a machine gun because it was just in rapid succession. It went on for like over a minute, just like one after the other. I thought it was like, it must have been a drill or something. There were like sirens going off. I looked outside and obviously I didn't think it was like super dangerous, so I fully like stepped out on the terrace, like up my balcony to like look, and there were like guys in uniform with like machine guns and stuff, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna head back inside.
Now, did you see any of the injured? We know an officer was injured, and we know someone else was injured. Did you see any of those people injured there or hurt?
I don't know if it's like those people, but I did see like an officer. I think she was a lady, but she was like holding on to like other officers, and they were like kind of assisting her like towards a vehicle. And I also saw people like getting escorted out of the CVS. I don't know. I was just like taking pictures out of my window. So.
Yeah, and we really appreciate it as well. Just walk us through just that area overall. Did you see we know that there's some damage to the Emory buildings across the street. For those who might not be aware, that's across a busy highway, correct?
Yes. I'm an Emory student, so yeah, it's like right in front of the CDC as well. I didn't leave my house, so I don't know like what the damage is on the street. I did see a car that's like rammed into like a tree or the sidewalk. It's like a blue car.
Okay. And you have a better vantage point than we do, so we appreciate that as well. Just overall, how are you feeling? You know, we've heard a lot from officers, but you're right there. You were right there above all of this action. I just want to ask, how are you doing? Have you been able to process any of this before we go?
I don't know if it's like hit me. I got a call from my dad, and he was like, stay away from the windows, hide in the bathroom. And I was like, I was just like outside on the balcony, so he was like a little bit freaked out. I've just been getting texts from a lot of people just wondering if I'm okay. I think I'm still a little bit rattled, but yeah, I'm just, I don't know.
Well, I thank you so much. I appreciate it for talking with us and walking you through. I'll send you a couple of texts. I'm going to go back to do this live hit. I appreciate it so much. But we do want to, so we just want to, again, you heard her, she was right above. If you can, Scott, just those things, again, that you can see, those apartments, that's where she was. And that was a live interview, just walking us through, giving a firsthand account to hearing all of those back in the studio.
Amazing perspective there, Eric, from somebody who lives just feet away and right above where all of this happened down at the CVS. Just can't imagine how terrified you'd be with something unfolding right beneath you. You're a student coming back to Emory for the school year, getting set up in your apartment, really excited about what the year ahead has to hold, and then this happens right beneath you, literally.
Yeah. I mean, just stunning to hear it from the video that we've been showing you, taken by another person who lives in those apartments. Just hearing the gunshots and then not knowing when the situation was over. I mean, remember, this went on for some time. There was quite a bit of time between when we first heard word of this and when police let us know that the threat had been neutralized. I mean, it was probably about 90 minutes at least that I can remember. So it just had to be so scary for students like her or residents like her in those apartments who live nearby.
Yeah, because it started just before 5, and then we really didn't realize that things had been brought to a conclusion until close to 6:30, so like 90 minutes after this thing started. So we've been given a 2-minute warning with this news conference where we're going to learn a whole lot more information about what happened. In the meantime, speaking of the gunshots that rang out and how loud and significant they were, I want to play for you video that somebody who actually lives in those apartments took on their cell phone as all of this was happening. Listen.
Just absolutely stunning video there you're seeing that was taken by a resident who lives in those apartments. Looks like they live right above where the CVS is, where these shots were fired. And as you pointed out, Tom, I just think it is so stunning to see these cars driving by as these shots are fired in succession. Now, I looked it up, and there is no limit on magazines in terms of a long gun. You could have, it would be quite normal to have a 20-round capacity for a long gun. Now, I'm not sure if law enforcement, when they come out and give us more details here, if they're going to detail what kind of weapon was used, but it does sound like it is the type of gun. Now, in that interview with the student who lives in those apartments earlier, she said machine gun. That doesn't sound like a machine gun, but usually people get that mixed up with maybe a semi-automatic rifle.
Actually, I'm watching a whole debate unfold on our YouTube channel with comments about what kind of gun this was, of course.
But it'll be interesting to find out, maybe if law enforcement will give us details on that. Now, here is what we've been referring to. This is just after 5. This is when we had the information that there was an active shooter situation going on, and you could see just a large police presence around the CVS.
Let's jump to the news conference at the Kroger parking lot where officials are going to fill us in. Mayor Andre Dickens at the microphone. Let's listen.
I'm the mayor of the city of Atlanta. I'm joined here today by Atlanta Police Department Chief Shearbaum, Atlanta Fire Rescue Chief Smith, as well as FBI SAC Brown to my right, and the DeKalb County PIO Officer Wells. We're just a few of the individuals and teams that are here that's been on scene for the last 2 hours as I've witnessed the coordination amongst many of this active shooter incident that occurred today on the campus of Emory University, just off site of the CDC and next to this CVS pharmacy. This active shooter incident started this afternoon, and Chief Shearbaum will give you some of the details regarding that. I witnessed over the last 2 hours a very coordinated response. A lot of training had to go into how these men and women of Emory University, DeKalb County Police, the FBI, the City of Atlanta Police, Fire and Rescue from both DeKalb and the City of Atlanta, the GBI, Georgia State Patrol. I saw officers coming from all over to be able to respond to this incident. At this time, Chief Shearbaum will give you more of the details, but at this time, the shooter is deceased, and we don't have any civilians that have been shot in this active shooter incident. Thank God for that. We do have a DeKalb County officer that was also shot. And at this very moment, the CEO of DeKalb County, Lorraine Cochran Johnson, as well as the police chief of DeKalb County, are at the hospital right now meeting and talking with individuals, the families, and other officers that were involved having to respond to this emergency situation. They will shortly come to this very same spot to give a press conference and an update on that officer and that incident. And at this time also, on the CDC's campus, there are 92 children that are in a daycare that is on this campus. They are safe, and we are setting up with the CDC and all connected parties to be able to get those families reunited with those children at a local school very nearby. And we have the address of that. That Chief will give you the specific address and name of that school nearby. So we are working to unify families, and at this time, there have been no civilian casualties, but this was an active shooter incident. The shooter is now deceased. The campus is, there are no threats on the campus currently, but we still have an active investigation. Atlanta Police Department will be the investigating party. And so we ask that while things are safe, that you don't drive in that part of campus, because we need to make sure that the investigation goes through without any obstruction. Again, to the men and women that work at the CDC, we know that you've had a tough go of it in the past year, and my heart goes out to you as uncertainty was around your occupation and you being citizens of Atlanta. That means something to me. And then today, this occurs. We are with you, we stand with you, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that we bring resolve to the situation. And FBI SAC Brown, he may be able to tell you more about some of the windows that might have been shot on various floors of the CDC as gunfire did take place. The other thing is to those parents of those 92 children that are at the CDC. I'm a parent as well. I know your uncertainty and your fear and your concern has been high. We wanted to come give you this message that all the children are safe and that we will be making sure that you get reunited with them as soon as possible. I know your heart is just really aching, but the good news is none of them have been injured, and we will get you connected to those, to your loved ones really soon. I'll come back to this microphone after others will be given a chance to speak. Now I turn it over to Chief Darren Shearbaum, as Atlanta Police Department has been in coordination with all the other outstanding agencies as we've been working together. And this is why we train on active shooter drills, et cetera, around this region. This has been a group project and a coordinated effort. And Darren Shearbaum, the Atlanta Police Chief, will now address you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief. Just give you an update and some additional information what the mayor provided. So this afternoon at approximately 4:50, the Atlanta 911 Center became aware of a report of an active shooter that was occurring at 1600 Clifton Road. This is right at the intersection of Clifton Road and CDC Parkway, immediately in front of the CDC campus. Officers from multiple agencies responded, from the campus, across the region, from our federal partners and our state partners responded to the scene. Officers arriving found a critically injured DeKalb County police officer that was down. He was immediately extracted from the scene and taken to Grady Memorial Hospital. Officers could still hear gunfire occurring inside the CVS drugstore that is right there at the intersection. So officers moved quickly to attempt to find the shooter and to neutralize the threat to the community. We later found the shooter on the second floor of the CVS. He had been struck by gunfire. We do not know at this time whether that was from officers or if it was self-inflicted. He was removed from the location by Atlanta Fire Rescue to render aid. He did pass at the scene. We also know that the CDC campus did receive multiple rounds into their buildings. Right now, as the mayor stated, we are not aware of any injury that occurred to anyone on that location. 4 other individuals did later arrive at the hospital. They were retreated for stress and anxiety symptoms. They were not injured in the shooting. And to reemphasize what the mayor stated, the children in the daycare center are unharmed. We have law enforcement and medical professionals with them, and we are coordinating the return of those children to their families. We've already put this out. We want to reemphasize it. The CDC leadership is communicating this to all parents, but the reunification site is at the Clifton School. which is located at 1900 Starvine Way, Starvin Way in Decatur. And we want to again reassure all parents and loved ones that their children are okay. We do believe there was a single shooter, and we do believe that single shooter is deceased. Right now, the investigation is being conducted by the Atlanta Police Department's Complex Case Squad, by the GBI and the FBI in a joint investigation until we know more information as to what transpired. The Atlanta Police Department is lifting up the DeKalb County officer, the DeKalb County Police Department in our prayers, and I ask everyone that is watching this broadcast to do the exact same thing. And I want to commend the men and women of law enforcement from all across this region that when this community needs them, no one shirked from the danger. And every officer from multiple jurisdictions responded and immediately moved to end this threat. Thank you. Sure.
Hi, I'm Paul Brown, the Special Agent in charge of the FBI's Atlanta Division. And like the Chief and the Mayor said, we immediately responded to the scene. At this time, we're not aware of any casualties on the campus of the CDC, but in conjunction with our partners, we're methodically clearing that to ensure that that is accurate and that is remains so. And then once that's done, we'll assist with processing the scene and conducting the investigation jointly with our partners.
Mayor, Chief, we'll get ready for questions. We'll start on this side. We may not be able to get to everyone, but we'll start with you, Rob, over to the mayor's right.
Right.
Good evening, Mayor. Is it believed right now that the CDC was targeted in this attack?
Well, I'll let Chief Shearbaum ask anything around the investigation. He'll be able to answer that. But right now, it's so preliminary. I read social media and I get calls from a number of you that have heard things about this individual's background. He's a white male, and he has he is a known person that may have some interest in certain things that I can't reiterate right now with any confidence until the investigation is fully conducted. But I think that in a short order, you'll know more about this individual and about some assumptions of his motives, but can't say right now.
All right.
Can you tell us anything more about the suspect? What kind of weapon did he use? How many rounds went into the CDC building?
Chief, you want to?
Not yet. We can tell you multiple rounds were fired. We can tell you that multiple rounds were fired, both we believe at law enforcement and potentially at the CDC. Purposely, we can't say it definitively, but it would appear we can't rule that out right now.
Is that CVS a two-story store, or was he in some other kind of place above the store?
We believe it's a multiple-story building, but he was on the second floor of the building that houses the CVS.
Does he have a criminal record?
We can't release that at this time.
Did the man live in that building?
Allow me to let someone else ask a question. Anyone over here at New York Times?
So this shooting comes on the heels of a few other high-profile shootings, including the one at Port Stewart, including numerous on Edgewood and some other neighborhoods. I'm curious to what extent can the city confront what seems to be a rash of gun violence without state-level intervention?
So your question around a number of high-profile shootings, Fort Stewart, here at Emory and others across the nation and in the state of Georgia, is definitely one that we have to pay attention to. Mass shootings, active shooter scenarios should not become the norm. We have a number of individuals in this country that have access to high-powered weapons. And for individuals with those high-powered weapons that may have mental challenges, or those individuals with high-powered weapons that are angry, when they choose to use those weapons in a way that harms multiple people, we have to put an end to that in our society. So this is something we do have to have a national and a state, a full conversation across the nation and across the state of Georgia, not just in one city. As you see, this is a coordinated effort across DeKalb, across college campuses, the FBI, the GBI. As you see active shooters across the nation, we've just been added to the statistic.
You said
right here in black shirt.
Thank you.
Allow her.
We were hearing that the officer passed away. So he was critically injured. Did he pass away? Or was his condition?
Well, at this time, it is a DeKalb County officer. And we want to make sure that DeKalb County is able to respond to what's going on with that officer. We know that he was shot and critically injured, and at this time, as I stand here, I can't give you that information that you just asked. We have the PIO of DeKalb County here, and as I said, in short order, you will hear from the DeKalb County Chief and the DeKalb County CEO.
All right, over here.
Can I ask, why was the DeKalb officer there? I know this area is kind of on that border, but just talk about that, maybe Chief Shearbaum or you, Mr. Mayor.
I want to talk about how mutual aid and how we're all kind of together.
This is an area that is part of the city limits, but inside of DeKalb County, so it's not uncommon for patrol patterns to cross for multiple jurisdictions that may share the space. We don't know why the officer was there. Was he going to work? Was he coming home from work? We don't know if he was on patrol. We will know that at the end of the investigation.
Hang on, Ryan. She's got it.
Do you want to give an update?
So we can confirm that our officer was responding to the threat of the active shooter.
So you can't confirm?
Yes.
Did you say it one time?
Yes, we can confirm that our officer was responding to the threat of the active shooter.
Can you give an update on the condition? There have been several media reports that he's passed away, or she.
So we can't confirm that at this time. Like Mayor said previously, our chief, interim chief Patrick, will be here to provide an update. I just don't have that information readily available.
Did that officer respond alone?
So we are, both chief and mayor, if you can, we're getting reports that maybe the suspect who was known had some issues with the CDC because he was upset about the COVID vaccine and he thought it made him sick. Is there any way you guys can maybe address that, and maybe if he was targeting the CDC because of the vaccine?
We cannot confirm at this time. This is in the earliest stages of the investigation. The same questions you have, law enforcement has. And so everything that is the question of the nation, we're going to get the answer to, and we'll be able to report back as soon as we can.
All right, Univision.
Question?
Yeah. We're hearing this maybe from DeKalb, but was this officer a rookie officer? We heard basically he was almost ambushed a little bit when he actually arrived on scene.
So any information about the officer will come from interim chief Patrick later this evening, including his status and how long he was with the department.
All right.
Is the white car with the trunk open and shot up, is that connected to the suspect?
It's part of the crime scene at this time. We can't confirm if it was the car that the suspect drove, but it is being searched by the police and it's being held as evidence.
We're going to take the last question right here.
Do you guys have a timeline of when the gunfire was called in and how quickly officers responded and how quickly the suspect was essentially...
4:50 p.m. is when the first call came in. Law enforcement arrived very, very quickly thereafter. Oftentimes when officers arrive, they're so quickly engaged in the scene they can't radio out. So we'll be reviewing all video to determine when the first officers arrived. But the response was from multiple agencies. I wish I could name everyone right now, but the citizens of the Atlanta region should be proud of their law enforcement today.
Mayor, you want to give a parting statement before we go?
Yeah, as Chief stated, this was a coordinated effort. When I was here around 5:15 or so, I was seeing not only DeKalb County and Atlanta, we were seeing Gwinnett County, we saw officers from Dunwoody, we saw, of course, Emory, the FBI, GBI, Georgia State Patrol. Everyone was responding because there were shots being fired, calls for shot being fired right there in front of the CDC, and then shots fired inside of the CVS. And so you're hearing, everyone responded. It was hundreds of officers as well as fire rescue. And at this time, we've spoken with Emory President Finvez, as well as all of the individuals at the CDC, the leadership there, and the leadership of DeKalb County, et cetera. Everyone will continue to give updates throughout this evening. This very same spot will be utilized by DeKalb County as they return from the hospital really soon, as they're talking with families. And as more information becomes available that we can share about the suspect that is now deceased, we will make sure that we share that, because we want you to know the mindset, what might have led to this, so that we never have it happen again. We want right now to give this update that the area is clear. No threats continue to exist, and we're going to start reuniting families with those children that are in that daycare. And again, the campus has the all clear sign. stay out of that area right there in front of the CDC and where the CVS is, because it is an active investigation that's being led by APD in coordination with FBI, GBI, and of course with DeKalb County there. That's it at this time.
Thank you, everyone. For any updates, please make sure you follow the Atlanta Police Department social media.
All right, live pictures from the parking lot of the Kroger grocery store located just down the street from where this shooting happened this afternoon, just before 4:50, just before 5 o'clock, 4:50 in the afternoon, with Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens, Atlanta Police Chief Darren Shearbaum, detailing what they know, at least from the perspective of the Atlanta Police Department, the FBI. They're also on the scene about what happened today at the CVS drugstore across the street from the CDC when multiple gunshots rang out. But they didn't have a lot of information about the suspect. There's certainly a lot of speculation swirling around social media about his alleged motives, but we don't know, nor did we get confirmed what they might be, or the condition, the official condition of a DeKalb County police officer who was shot in this incident.
Yeah, but just really started to flesh out some more details as we paint a picture of what actually happened here. And we got some of those details from Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens. Even though this took place in DeKalb County, it sounds like there was some coordination between Atlanta Police and the DeKalb police officer who is being treated right now in the hospital. We understand DeKalb County CEO Lorraine Cochran Johnson is at the hospital, and Mayor Dickens told us that she has been meeting with family members of that officer who was shot. We also got some details from how things unfolded when they first started. Our Rob DiRienzo was there at that news conference. Rob, we got a lot of little details that were interesting. What stood out to you?
Hey there, guys. I think probably the biggest thing at this point is what we don't know. Forgive me, I am hearing myself in my ear right now, but we are wanting and waiting to hear on an update on that DeKalb officer's condition. And so far, everybody here at this news conference, including Atlanta Police Chief Darren Shearbaum, along with the mayor and the public information officer for DeKalb County, were unable to give an update. They say that the DeKalb County chief, along with the DeKalb CEO, as you mentioned, is at the hospital with that officer right now. There have been several reports relating to that officer's status, but we haven't been able to confirm that, so we're going to hold off on reporting that. Again, here's what we do know. They say that this guy opened fire around that CVS around 5 o'clock or sometime in that time frame earlier this evening, and then he took his own life before striking that police officer. The circumstances surrounding what led this man or a woman to do this at this point is unclear, but we do have confirmed that that shooter is now deceased. There are still, again, a lot of questions, guys, at this point, specifically surrounding the shooter's motives and, of course, the officer's condition tonight. So we're going to get more updates here on the ground. The police say they'll come right back here to this Kroger parking lot to give us those updates, guys.
Okay, Rob, 1 second before you go. And are you back with us through IFB?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, good. Want to talk about the kids. 92 children, which seemed like a lot to me at a daycare center. But anyway, the mayor reporting that those kids are going to be brought down the street to the Clifton School to meet their parents.
Yeah, and that was one of the other big headlines to come from this. I actually spoke with a parent who does have a child, a 3-year-old boy, inside one of those daycares that's behind the police barricade. She understandably was very nervous, but as you mentioned, that reunification point appears to be the Clifton School, and the chief gave the address to that. And we've been speaking with that mother who says she has been getting updates from the daycare staff and other people who are on the other side of the police line, and she says that gives her some reassurance, but at this point, she just wants to hug her little boy. She wants to make sure that he's okay and all these other children are okay. But again, what we heard from the police chief and the mayor here is that none of those children were involved or injured in all of this. That is the good news. But as you mentioned, over 90 children still waiting to be unified with their parents right now. Tom.
Yeah, thank God those kids are safe, Rob, but I can't imagine what some of these parents must be feeling as they're just still so anxious to be reunited with their children, to have them back in their arms. Rob, thanks. Let's just go back through some of the things that came out of this news conference. So again, they're detailing the timeline. This all started just before 5 at 4:50 p.m. We understand Atlanta police responded to the location of the CVS, and that is when they found that DeKalb officer who had been shot, and they took him to a nearby hospital. We understand he's at Emory University Hospital receiving treatment. They told us again what we already know, which is that the shooter is dead. But we also learned that the shooter was found on the second floor of the CVS. And
I didn't know there was a second floor of the CVS. I've been in there a million times.
Good that you point that out, because that was one of the follow-up questions that was asked of, I think it was APD Police Chief Darren Shearbaum. He was asked about that exact thing, and he said it was the second floor of the building that houses the CVS. So no telling if that was an apartment, and if it was an apartment, how did the suspect get access? Did he live there? Did he break into an apartment? I mean, there's just so many questions that we still need answered. And then Rob mentioned that there was a gunshot wound. They wouldn't detail whether that was self-inflicted or if that was from police. But just a few more details coming out here.
Well, and the other question, I mean, that everybody's asking and that some other news agencies are reporting, but even officials from DeKalb County and the Atlanta mayor and the Atlanta police chief refused to confirm until DeKalb County CEO Lorraine Cochran-Johnson approaches the microphone, which we understand is going to happen soon, and the interim police chief Greg Padrick. Is the condition they were asking if the DeKalb County police officer was fatally shot. You know, that's out there, and so we're waiting for confirmation of that or not.
But interesting that Mayor Dickens mentioned CEO Lorraine Cochran-Johnson has been meeting with family members of this police officer who has been shot.
Well, and I think he wants to be very deferential to that department and let them make any kind of announcement. We have a statement now from the DeKalb County CEO. This is from earlier. My thoughts and prayers are with all of those affected by today's incident at the Emory campus. I'm grateful for the swift and coordinated response from our law enforcement agencies and first responders. We're closely monitoring the situation. We'll provide updates as they become available, and I urge everybody to stay alert and remain indoors. Obviously, this put out at the time of the incident, follow the guidance, and allow law enforcement to complete their investigation. Do we have Kim Luffler, who's at Emory University, available and ready to talk to us? We don't. She's been outside Emory University Hospital where the DeKalb officer was taken. Remember that we initially thought that there was a civilian victim too, but
that was cleared up during the news conference.
That was cleared up that there was not. So
no civilians were hurt, is what we were told. But they did also mention that 4 people were treated at Emory University Hospital for anxiety and stress. So, I mean, understandable, people can have physical reactions to something like this that's so scary.
Certainly.
And
especially when you heard the sound of the gunshots.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was jarring.
Yeah.
Let's get out to Kim Luffler now outside the hospital. Kim, you've been out there. The mayor indicated that he was brought to Grady. I mean, you were at Grady, obviously, waiting for them to receive him, but that's not the case. He's right behind you at the hospital. What are you hearing? We're just hearing all kinds of conflicting reporting about the condition of the officer and when we can expect to hear from the DeKalb County CEO.
Yeah, we are expecting to hear from the DeKalb County CEO here in just about 25 minutes or so, right around 8:30. But there's still an active law enforcement presence out here. You can probably see, David, if you could zoom in a little bit, there are some officers right there just outside of the hospital entrance here. And there's still several police cars lined along Clifton Road here right now. But again, we are still waiting for an update on this officer's condition. We have not gotten any official confirmation on that at this hour, but again, we are expecting an update here in about 25 minutes or so at 8:30, and we'll be sure to bring that to you once the press conference here begins.
Okay, Kim, what about, have you seen, of course it would be hard to identify them going into the hospital, but we understand from the mayor that they've been, talking to family and people who might be associated with this officer. Any activity around such people that might have entered the hospital from where you are or your perspective?
Yeah, Tom, as you mentioned, it is hard to to tell who is family at this point. There certainly is a very heavy presence, heavy atmosphere right now with all the officers that are on scene here, and also some of the Emory employees that are still exiting the hospital right now. But again, it's still unclear at this point who all are the family members that are here for the officer. But of course, we'll keep you updated as we learn more.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that is DeKalb County Sheriff Melody Maddox there just by the entrance to the hospital. Kim, I'm not sure if that's where they're planning to hold the news conference, but understandable why she would be positioned there outside the hospital. All right. Kim, thanks.
Yes, we are expecting them to come and speak to us here shortly.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll stand by for that. Kim, thanks.
So just a couple of seconds ago, I don't know if we're cutting sound from when the mayor and the police chief came out of Atlanta to replay some of that for you, but they just came out a couple of minutes ago. We've been waiting for a good bit of time for an official word on the events that transpired just before 5 o'clock at the CVS drugstore across the street from the CDC. When gunfire rang out, we heard the intensity of those gunshots. We don't know a lot about the suspect, and there's speculation about what his motives might have been. We know that he was neutralized, whether it was from a self-inflicted gunshot wound or whether police took him down is also a big question right now.
Yeah, Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens was asked about that and gave kind of an interesting response. He was slow to comment on anything in terms of a motive, but he did detail that the suspect was a white male,
right?
Which I'm not sure why he mentioned that aspect.
Well, and then followed with that, there's been a lot of news related to the CDC.
Uncertainty around jobs for employees there at the CDC.
How you connect that to today's incident, I don't know.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll learn more in the days to come. But the FBI was there because of the Federal Association with the CDC and the FBI. So they were there at the ready. The mayor indicated that this was a multi-jurisdictional response from the FBI and Atlanta, DeKalb, Emory. I mean, they just swarmed that place when this happened.
So quickly. We're now getting word that the GBI has now taken the lead on the investigation, which is in its infancy, so that'll continue to develop. But just as we continue to talk about the details that came out of this news conference, we also want to continue just to put out there that they did detail that parents who need to pick up their kids, there were 92 kids at the daycare center that was attached to the CDC, and the mayor and others wanted to let parents know that they can pick up their kids at 1900 Starvine Way, which is the Claremont campus of the Clifton School there, near the original location where they presumably dropped their kids off this morning. But we heard from Rob that he had spoken to a mother of a 3-year-old boy who was in that daycare center and that she was just beside herself, wanting to get back in touch with her child, which is totally understandable. But it is good to know that we were told all the kids are okay.
I mean, you're the mother of a toddler. My kids are grown now. But, and so I can kind of put myself back in that position. But you're in the situation right now as the mom of a you're there, you're working at the CDC, your little girl is
Can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, what's going through your head?
I mean, I know I'd leave my post at work no matter what. I mean, as soon as you find out, but that's just it. I mean, this is a situation where you saw the perimeter.
Yeah.
You saw the streets that were blocked off and the huge law enforcement presence that was taking up Clifton Road. It's not like you can just follow your instinct, which is to run over there and just grab your kid and get them out of there.
Yeah.
So your heart goes out to these parents who are still in a situation where they don't have their kids. But it sounds like the reunification process is underway. So hopefully we'll get a good update on that soon as well, when parents start to get reunited.
Parents as well.
Yeah.
I know we have a couple of pieces of video, so I'll just call for them and then, hopefully we can put them up. First, we want to show the video of the window of the CDC that was on the receiving end of this gunfire this afternoon. and whether it was targeted, who knows? But look at the impact of the bullet that hit the impact-proof window of the CDC headquarters there, and look at how high we are. This was taken from one of the office floors and sent to us, but it was pretty high up, number one. Number two, we had another picture of like some cubicles that were on this floor as well. So you're sitting there, it's 4:50, you're waiting to go home at 5, and then this happens. It impacts your window. And it apparently happened in building, I'm not familiar with the numbers of the building or how they lie on the campus there, but we had reporting that buildings 21, 24, and perhaps building 18 were hit. And so I want you, as you look at this picture of the window, all right, and you're thinking to yourself, gosh, how does a impact-proof window get shattered like this by a bullet so high up and way across the street from the CVS where this whole thing was unfolding? How does it impact the window with such intensity? Well, listen for a second at the intensity of the gunfire that was coming from that CVS. So that was 20. We counted 20 shots by the time, by the way, that this person was able to pull out their phone and start rolling.
Right.
Were there shots before that? We don't know, but I mean that was pretty significant.
Yeah, very significant. You know, just in terms of going to the motive. I mean, it's not like these were sporadic shots. It's not like there were pauses in between. I mean, if somebody was wanting to target a specific location, that would be the way to do it. You want to just fire as many shots as you can in a row until you hit your target. Just want to check with the control room. We're waiting on Lorraine Cochran-Johnson. Any word on when that might happen? No, okay. All right. Let's go out to Deidre Dukes then, who's not far from the scene on the other side of where all this happened, from where this happened. Deidre, you spoke to some witnesses. What did they tell you?
That's right. And just to Tom and Courtney, give our viewers some perspective on where we're actually located, just down the hill from where we are is Emory University. We're on Clifton Road, and then just past the blue lights that you see up Clifton Road is actually where the actual crime scene occurred, where the CVS is located, where the shooter opened fire earlier this afternoon. At this time, we are still seeing several people gathered out here just past where the police cars continue to have the road blocked leading up to the crime scene. Right now, they're not allowing any traffic to go up that way, but they are allowing, we are seeing now, since the scene is no longer on lockdown, that area, they are allowing people to go back and forth on foot, people who were on lockdown, who are trying to leave the area, as well as people who perhaps live in that area, who are trying to make their way home. We do see them letting some folks go back and forth on foot. Now, as you can imagine, as this was all transpiring, word was going out via alerts on phones that this was an active shooter situation. You had people on lockdown out here. You had people coming here to see to their loved ones, concerned for their safety, of course. And we talked to a mother who came here when her daughter called her to tell her of the situation. Her daughter was one of the individuals out here on lockdown up Clifton Road past the scene that we're showing you right now. She called her mother, told her what was going on, that she was on lockdown. Her mother made her way out here. So we talked to her mother while she was out here waiting, and once the young lady made her way out here, we talked to her as well as far as what was going on, what she heard, what she saw during that terrifying period immediately after the shooting. And here's what they told us. Miss Briggs, if you could just tell me how you found out what was going on.
My daughter lives right here at Emory Point and just called me. I was on my way to see her tonight and told me what was going on, that she just heard gunshots and that there was an active shooter and that they were on lockdown.
Yeah. What goes through your mind as a parent when you hear something like that, especially in today's times?
Fear. But I mean, we told her just to stay away from the windows and to, be safe. Don't open the door for anyone, and I'll be there soon.
As far as how the situation was handled, several alerts went out from CDC, the police, Emory. Your reaction to the response that we're seeing both on scene and just the way the various agencies and the hospitals and everybody handled this.
The communication was great. Her concern was a lot of different news stories and different channels and not sure what to believe. So I just told her, I'm like, well, I'll get there and I'll see what I can. If it looks safe, then you can come out. But she just heard all over that the suspect has been taken care of, and so that they're no longer on a lockdown and she can come out. But I can't go get to her, so now she has to walk to me.
Tell me a little bit about what happened this afternoon for you, from your perspective.
I was just sitting in my living room like a normal afternoon and heard gunshots, heard the siren safety alarm started going off, and one of my friends had sent me a screenshot that Emory had sent out because I didn't really know what to think was going on.
The gunshots, were they popping rapidly? How would you describe it?
Popping, and I would say it was for longer than a minute. It wasn't just quick and it's over. It went on.
So now that this crime scene has gone into the investigative phase, we are seeing GEMA and the GBI and the FBI join local police jurisdictions on scene. So many jurisdictions from across the metro area, as you heard from the police chief and from the mayor, making their way here in the immediate moments following reports of that active shooter situation. So we do still have some of that activity on scene as well from our local jurisdictions, just assisting DeKalb PD on scene as far as crowd control and things of that nature. But right now, just a lot of people still milling about. Not everyone able to make it past the police barricades here. It just appears right now it really probably depends on whether folks live in this area as to whether or not they're being allowed to walk back and forth in and out, things of that nature. But that's what we're looking at right now as the scene continues to unfold here on Clifton Road. Tom and Courtney.
Yeah, it's encouraging to see that people are able to now move about a little bit more than they have been able to, because now we're entering the third hour where people just weren't able to travel maybe to their places where they live or leaving where they work, as there were lockdown orders in effect and whatnot. So nice to see that people are able to get back to business as usual a little bit. It's still pretty locked down as it looks like here in this live picture. Deidre, thank you for that perspective. And as we await a news conference, we understand in the next 10 to 15 minutes or so from the DeKalb County CEO, who is at Emory University Hospital where that officer was taken after being shot. We understand he was the first responding officer there on scene, as far as we know, and was shot and then now taken to that hospital. Let's get out to our Russ Spencer, who's been there from the beginning of all of this. Really, Russ, we're really getting some interesting details now after we had that news conference a few minutes ago.
Yeah, we are. Things have been fluid this afternoon and this evening, and some of the news conferences have been postponed, but we have heard precisely what you're reporting there, Courtney, that we are going to hear from Lorraine Cochran-Johnson, the CEO at DeKalb County, at 8:30 tonight at Emory University Hospital. Obviously, everyone's concerned about the condition of the DeKalb officer who was in surgery there. We'll hear more details very shortly. But my sense was the same as yours, Courtney. Listening to Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens, it sounded to me like he thinks he knows what the motive was. He referred to the dead man, to the shooter, as a white man. He said, "You're going to learn about him," implying, it seemed to me, that perhaps there are social media posts or other postings that are going to reveal that person's motive or point of view. And he made special note of the CDC. He said that our hearts are with you, quote, because there's been uncertainty surrounding your occupation in the last year. We stand with you. I think it's fair to conclude from having listened to Mayor Andre Dickens that at least he thinks that to some extent the CDC was a target of all this. We're going to know a lot more about that, obviously, in the hours and days to come. But that seems to be a reasonable conclusion given the fact that 2, perhaps 3 buildings there were fired at. And as you point out, Courtney, when you listen to the methodical nature of those pow, 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 that person was not spraying gunfire all over the place. And there were cars passing by. If he was targeting people, there were plenty of people to target. Unfortunately, tragically, a DeKalb County police officer was shot in the course of all of this, but because he responded to the danger, as Chief Shearbaum said, they ran toward the danger, and we should all be proud of law enforcement tonight for the fact that they put themselves in harm's way. We saw it so clearly as they stood behind their police cruisers and tried to take cover behind a dumpster in the parking lot there, but they were exposed enough that one of them was actually shot, critically so. So we're going to hear from the DeKalb CEO here in about 9 minutes if things go according to plan, and if they don't, we'll stay with it until we do hear from them, because the entire city is waiting to hear the fate of this officer, and we certainly hope that he's okay. But as they informed us, his injuries were critical.
Yeah, and as we talk about motives, Russ, which we're still not quite clear about, but that the Atlanta mayor briefly speculated on, I guess we just have to remain grateful that, because all of us, because of the proximity to the television station, have been in that CVS. And then classes are supposed to get underway at Emory here in the next week, and then the next week. And then all the people might have been leaving work at the CDC, that there weren't more like collateral. I mean, this guy was like, bullets were flying everywhere.
Yeah.
So
it's a lack of regard for
grateful that
anyone's safety that could have been caught in the middle, especially those 92 kids we now know were in the building directly across the street from where these shots were going off in direct succession.
But it just, it makes you wonder about maybe he did have something specific on his mind, which is why he didn't take out a bunch of people around him.
My goodness, but can you imagine if he had fired directly across the street at that daycare?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's huge. And
hard to imagine.
We know that parents are kind of staging around the area, and that those kids are going to be brought to the Clifton school for them to pick up.
Yeah.
We got the address there.
Yeah, 1900 Starvine Way is the pickup area for parents who have kids that they need to be reunited with from that daycare. Let's get back out to our Eric Perry. He's been there on the scene for several hours now. Eric, still a large police presence there behind you.
Yeah, Courtney, Tom, hello to both of you. I've been listening to that press conference, and they are coming in and they're coming out. I'm seeing more FBI agents coming, and then off camera, it looks like a group of police officers are walking up. They might be crime scene investigators. They have on purple gloves. I'm looking at them as they make their way up. We'll see them in just a moment. A question that I had during that press conference that I'm very curious about, they mentioned that shooter was on the second level of that CVS. I've been texting people inside of that apartment complex, which is right above. One person told me that they don't believe that there is a second level on that. And it looks like, again, if you can, Scott Simpson, my photographer there, those people still coming up, just showing people, it says crime scene. So those are crime scene investigations. So I've been texting 2 people actually, on top of that, when they said that the shooter was found on the second level of the CVS, all the people I'm talking to texting, we heard an interview earlier with a woman who heard all of this. She's a student there. She described the gunfire, but they're saying that is a 1-level CVS. They don't believe that there was a second level. So maybe they believe that maybe he was found on that second level, and that might have been the apartment complex that shooter, man or woman, we don't know as of yet, might have been found in, or maybe there's a back entrance or a back service part that's on the second level. But those who I'm talking with, one of them say they are on that second level. Their balcony is directly above that CVS. So that's a question we might be able to ask the DeKalb County Police, just for a little additional clarification of if he was able to make his way or her way inside that apartment complex, or to make for that second level as well. Again, we talked earlier, I talked earlier with the man who came here He was, his child is inside, one of those 90-plus students inside of that daycare. He's now since gone to Clifton. But also just setting the scene of this area, of course, you have businesses that are right there on the side of where that CVS is. You have an Orange Theory, you have some eateries. Of course, those are going to be closed because you still cannot make your way up. There is still a long line of police cars stretching from this CVS all the way to Briarcliff, where that QT is, just setting the scene, and that Pig and Chick, which is a barbecue restaurant nearby where you saw that press conference took place with the Atlanta mayor and other officials there. They're still blocked off at a light that is a little further down. I saw some of those express buses and other places as well. Also curious if they did some sort of a sweep inside that CDC, because at one point my sources inside that CDC, those workers were told to shelter in place while they swept the scene. So I'm not sure if there's like a back entrance maybe they were able to go out of. But again, we're still seeing a very intense sweep of this investigation. Of course, not active. You don't see the running that we saw when I first got on the scene here. But now they're meticulously combing through this area. And of course, this will be blocked off for quite some time there as well. But of course, we're going to work to learn. I'm texting those people inside. They're not able to come outside of their apartment complex. Scott, I'm not sure if you can see, but one of my sources sent this picture there of what they're able to see. That is the front of that CVS with some of those people who heard the gunfire, and they've been inside as well, of what that second level might be. I believe that might be an apartment complex, which would be the second level, and there look like some balconies as well. So we'll get some clarification with that, Ron and Courtney.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, we got you, Eric. But that is a really interesting perspective there.
Yeah.
The picture showing what's above the CVS, directly above.
So to get into that apartment complex is a key card access. So if he walked out of the CVS, I really think it's a semantics thing. Maybe the chief didn't know there are not 2 levels to the CVS. Maybe he did go up to one of the apartments. That's going to come out in the investigation. Something I did want to ask you, Eric, since you're as familiar with the area as we are, and you've been over to the CDC campus on so many occasions, one has to wonder if it's determined that the guy was targeting the CDC, okay, across the street, and thank goodness they have impact-resistant windows as fortification for that high-profile campus. But if there will be a security review of the CDC once again, and perhaps a refortification, if they know that people are going to stand across the street and train their guns on this building and open fire. I mean, look at the impact that bullet had on one of the windows there on campus,
Yeah, Tom, I'm going to move out the way just to show you that distance. Scott, I want to show the difference from where you can see it's a 4-lane road, maybe actually 5 lanes if you include the turning lane as well. So if he was over there to the left aiming, or he or she, was over on the left aiming across, the CDC building sits a little bit back off of the road on the right side, so it takes that special gun to reach across. And again, Russ made a good point, not targeting cars, because you would easily hit several, especially around 5 o'clock on a Friday in this area. You would have hit several of those cars, but also went above that daycare where those 90-plus students are inside, plus the faculty and staff there. So that is a good question. Of course, we've seen FBI here on the scene as well. More investigators with the FBI coming in, as that's under their jurisdiction. And again, also wanted to reiterate, just using some of the technology, Atlanta Fire brought up their drones as well. I'm told in previous cases they were able to use those drones to kind of survey inside of buildings, maybe just making sure to protect any other officers or people here on the scene before they go inside, to see if there are any other bodies inside, to know what they're going into before they go in that. I did see several drones out here as well, but FBI is out here and so many different agencies all working together to just figure out why, how, and to prevent something like this from happening again.
Yeah, because there are oftentimes when you pass the CDC, Eric, there are, like all the time actually, every time I've passed the CDC, protesters out there with their signs up, and it's common in front of a lot of federal buildings, the CDC in particular, I guess, but there's people out there protesting all the time.
Yeah, I've covered several protests that actually happen right there by the CVS across from the CDC. And whenever I'm there for those protests, some of them have gotten large. They've been over there, and there's a parking lot that's right next to that drugstore there. Anytime that I go over there, you can always see enforcement, law enforcement, security outside because, of course, it's the CDC, a very highly secured area. You can see several law enforcement and security agencies there. So I'm curious if maybe they saw something particular or what they were doing when all of this took place. They'll definitely have a story to tell during this investigation as well.
Yeah, really interesting perspective there, Eric. Thanks. We'll stand by. We'll come back to you in a few minutes. But just looking back to the news conference that happened just after 7:30, we heard a few more details coming out. Let's give you a look back at what we heard during that news conference.
Approximately 4:50, the Atlanta 911 Center became aware of a report of an active shooter that was occurring at 1600 Clifton Road. This is right at the intersection of Clifton Road and CDC Parkway, immediately in front of the CDC campus. Officers from multiple agencies responded, from the campus, across the region, from our federal partners and our state partners responded to the scene. Officers arriving found a critically injured DeKalb County police officer that was down. He was immediately extracted from the scene and taken to Grady Memorial Hospital. Officers could still hear gunfire occurring inside the CVS drugstore that is right there at the intersections. Officers moved quickly to attempt to find the shooter and to neutralize the threat to the community. We later found the shooter on the second floor of the CVS. He had been struck by gunfire. We do not know at this time whether that was from officers or if it was self-inflicted. He was removed from the location by Atlanta Fire Rescue to render aid. He did pass at the scene.
He's a white male, and he has he is a known person that may have some interest in certain things that I can't reiterate right now with any confidence until the investigation is fully conducted. Mass shootings, active shooter scenarios should not become the norm. We have a number of individuals in this country that have access to high-powered weapons, and for individuals with those high-powered weapons that may have mental challenges, or those individuals with high-powered weapons that are angry, when they choose to use those weapons in a way that harms multiple people, we have to put an end to that in our society.
So you heard it there, Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens entering the realm of speculation when it comes to the motive behind this shooting. And I know he was responding to a question about some reports that had been out there that are unconfirmed. And although he was careful not to confirm anything that's been out there, maybe on social media and whatnot, about the suspect's identity and maybe social media posts and whatnot, he did mention that he's a white male, and he did get into the realm of talking about firearms. So maybe getting a little bit into the political territory there.
As it always does. You have to assume that this investigation is unfolding on many different fronts now. I mean, so you have the investigation that's unfolding at the CVS where all this happened. You have the investigation across the street at the CDC where the gunfire impacted the building, and where there were witnesses inside who heard and experienced that. And then we're going to learn more about the suspect who was fatally taken down, because you have to think that wherever this guy lived, they're in his residence now, trying to get to the bottom of his background, his motives, why he went over there, and why he carried out this act today.
And of course, in 2025, the digital footprint is going to be very important as well. Perhaps more important than his physical surroundings and anything they can find there. But I thought that was a little odd that he mentioned those two things, but would not comment on things that are unconfirmed. I mean, we're only 3.5 hours out from when the situation happened.
We're waiting to advance this story in the form of a news conference that is supposed to get underway at any moment now, really, at the hospital at Emory University, where the officer was taken who was hit by gunfire today, just before 5 o'clock. And approaching those microphones will be the DeKalb County CEO, Lorraine Cochran-Johnson, and the interim DeKalb Police Chief, Greg Padrick. And so we're all waiting to have confirmed the information that we've been reading and that other news agencies are choosing to report, although they said it right there, the Atlanta mayor and the Atlanta police chief, that we're not going to confirm anything. And so here at Fox 5, we don't confirm anything until we get official word from officials.
That's right. And also in all of this, the daycare center that was caught in the middle, those 92 children that were there, we were informed by Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens. And we understand that we have live pictures of the reunification area where parents can pick up their kids. It's at 1900 Starvine Way. But we're also awaiting at any moment now that news conference, and we're getting word that it might start really soon here. So we're going to keep a close eye on that as well.
Yeah, this is Clifton Road, where a lot of the emergency vehicles are staging themselves. I'm assuming we're going to go back to that live picture of the microphones if we're feeling like this news conference is going to happen shortly. Our Kim Luffler has been posted outside Emory University Hospital, where the DeKalb County police officer was taken in the moments after the gunfire rang out at the CVS. This is a good perspective map of where all of this happened. So that's Clifton Road, which is an extraordinarily busy corridor that runs right through the heart of the Emory University. Okay, so get this. You got Emory University campus, you got Emory University Hospital, you have CDC headquarters.
That's right.
You have retail locations, and you have Emory Point and the CVS drugstore. You have that giant daycare facility across the street where upwards of 100 kids are being watched as their busy parents go to work.
And think about the many, many apartments that are there to serve all of the employees and students that use this area. All right, now you can see it here. This is the location where parents are arriving to pick up their kids, and it looks like some of them have been waiting for some time. You can imagine that with the police presence and with Clifton Road still blocked off, that it might take a while for the daycare workers to get the kids to this location. And I think I remember it was mentioned that Atlanta police or members of DeKalb police would be helping to transport the kids. But let's get out now to that news conference happening now at Emory University Hospital. Let's listen.
Over 3 million products.
We have Chief Padrick from the DeKalb County Police Department, as well as CEO Lorraine Cochran-Johnson. We'll start with Chief Padrick from the Police Department.
Evening, everyone. My name is Greg Padrick. I'm the interim chief for the DeKalb County Police Department. I'm not going to comment on the investigation and what's going on with the investigation that's being conducted by the Atlanta Police Department with assistance from the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. But what I can say, it is with profound sadness that we announce the loss of the life of one of our very own DeKalb County police officers. This officer responded to the call as he was trained to do. And during that incident, he received gunfire and he lost his life in this incident. He was committed to serving the community. At this time, we're asking for the community's prayers for his family, his friends, his loved ones, and the entire DeKalb County Police Department family. It's a noble profession that we all do. We answer the call to serve our community, and he gave his life with a commitment to serve others, and he should be respected for that. At this time, we are not going to release his name with respect for the family, but we will provide his name and photograph at a later time. We ask for your prayers and your thoughts during this difficult time, especially for his family and for all of the officers involved in this incident and the DeKalb County Police Department. Thank you.
Good evening. Of course, I'm Lorraine Cochran-Johnson, DeKalb County CEO. And today is a very dark day in DeKalb County, as we stand before you during the loss of one of our beloved officers. This evening there is a wife without a husband. There are 3 children, 1 unborn without a father. There is a mother and a father, as well as siblings, who also share in this traumatic loss. This evening, my heart goes out to the family, as well as the DeKalb County family, and to our frontline responders, to our officers, who in this case simply answered the call. These are individuals who run towards danger when we have the ability to run away. So tonight, it is with profound sadness that I stand here and I say to all of those who serve as frontline responders and to our officers that we are here to support you, and to this family and to my DeKalb County family during this time. Let's join together to give this family the support that it needs during this traumatic loss. Thank you.
Those are the official statements at this time. We will not take questions right now. We do plan to have an updated statement for you as we receive more information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's the official word of the fatal shooting of a DeKalb County police officer from the DeKalb County CEO and interim police chief. Just such a sad outcome. To a situation that unfolded earlier today when this shooting broke out at the CVS. Lorraine Cochran-Johnson calling it a dark day in DeKalb County, and indeed it is.
Yeah, and interim police chief Greg Pedrick also just appearing so emotional. You can imagine just how personal this is for him and so many other members of the department there as they confirmed that they lost one of their own. They wouldn't release the name of the officer who was killed, but they said they will release his name and photo at a later date. They also didn't specify how many years this officer had served on the force, but the DeKalb County CEO did provide a few details about what's been lost here. She said the father of 3 children, 1 of which is unborn, and leaving behind a wife, and parents who obviously are just heartbroken at this hour. So many questions that we still have about that, but just with those few details, it just paints a really tragic picture.
Parents, siblings, we're going to learn his name here in the coming days, but out of respect for the family and their grieving process in these initial hours after this tragedy now for the DeKalb County Police Department happened, out of respect for them, they're not going to release his name or his photo, but we will learn that here in the next day or so, and think about that wife who, as the DeKalb CEO said, will now be without a husband, and those poor children who have lost their father, doing what Interim Chief Pedrick said his officers are trained to do, and that is, storm into the line of fire to try to neutralize people like this and what happened today.
It sounds like this officer who was killed was the first, one of the first, if not the first on scene, after hearing from Atlanta Police Chief Darren Shearbaum, who said that their officers responded just before 5 o'clock and found this DeKalb police officer, who we now know has been killed, suffering from a gunshot wound. So he'd already been shot. He or she had already been shot at the time that they arrived on scene.
And this officer, one of the first to arrive there at 10 minutes before 5 o'clock when all of this happened, as night falls now on the CDC campus, and we show you, at a respectful distance, by the way.
Yeah.
As these parents kind of, they're all on their phones, probably communicating with their extended families, and and other parents, mothers and fathers who may be waiting at home, and they're just going to give their kids a big, tight hug when they see them, and just thank the Lord God that their kid's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then try to explain it to them, by the way.
I know,
you know?
Yeah. I'm sure the workers at that daycare have just been great in keeping the kids calm, because you would have been able to hear the shots from the daycare
I mean, if we heard them here at Fox 5.
Right. I mean, that's right across the street. So, yeah, thank God all those kids are okay. Let's get back out to our Russ Spencer. Russ, just a really emotional, heavy, somber mood there outside Emory University Hospital, hearing from the DeKalb CEO and police chief talking about this officer who's been killed.
Yeah, just a gut punch for law enforcement and for the entire Metro Atlanta community. We've been watching this afternoon. We saw the earlier news conference at the Kroger, where they gave us a little bit of good news, which was that no civilians were shot in the course of all of this. And this fallen officer may share responsibility for having saved lives, because a DeKalb officer on the scene there at that news conference made it clear that it wasn't that he just happened to be in the area, that he rushed to the scene and engaged somebody with a high-powered weapon and paid for it with his life. As Chief Pedrick put it, he gave his life. He had a commitment to serve others, and that's how he died. And I'm sure, like me, you were just crestfallen to hear not only that he had a family, but a family with 3 children and 1 on the way. It's just unspeakable. It's just too much. And our hearts go out to his family, his extended family, and his law enforcement family. And we praise him and all the officers who ran toward the danger this afternoon. I'm not sure that I've ever seen that many officers working together and putting their own lives in danger, knowing that there was an active threat, hearing this high-powered weapon, and going after this person anyway. We'll find out eventually whether or not this killer killed himself or whether police did, but it doesn't really matter. What matters now is that we have lost one of our finest, and we need to, as Lorraine Cochran Johnson said, join the police department, join the entire community in trying to lift up this family.
Yeah, the chief asking for prayers for family, friends, loved ones. Yeah, it's just been a really heart-wrenching day for so many people attached to this situation.
But you can't be amplified enough, Russ, what you said, and that is the bravery of these frontline responders to situations like this, where somebody is on the loose with such a powerful weapon. But it is now something in our culture and society where, you know, situations like this are not completely like shocking to law. I mean, we're sort of, you know, and they talk about the training that goes into responding to situations like this, but to be on the front of mind of the first responders and to know, I mean, the mayor, Dickens, talk about the drills that they go through to confront situations like this, and, you know, and how to, you know, get them under control in the fastest way they can.
Well, you think about situations where, and understandably so, because most of us can't imagine going towards gunfire like these heroic members of law enforcement do so many times. But there have been tragedies and mass shootings where maybe the first officer there on scene was too scared, or they panicked and they couldn't go towards the gunfire, and there were more casualties as a result. So just hearing the details coming out in these early stages about what this officer may have done, as Russ pointed out, it really could have prevented a much bigger tragedy here, especially knowing that there were 92 children at a daycare center right across the street.
Just echoing what, you know, obviously our hearts are just, you know, broken for the DeKalb County Police Force and this officer and his family, and so are the viewers watching with us on our YouTube channel. So many joining us. I'm going to read Jamila because I think she encapsulates the feeling of our viewers, and that her condolences and prayers are to the officer and their family, enduring such an unimaginable situation at the hands of a nutcase who decided to carry this out this afternoon right here in the backyard of our own community.
And that's a good point, because we are asking so many questions about the motive, the why. Why would you do? I mean, is there anything that can justify this kind of senseless violence that you're shooting at innocent people across a busy street over the heads of innocent children with no regard for the people who live in that apartment building? And you know, it'll be interesting to find out what the motive was. It'll satisfy our curiosity, but I don't think it will explain. You know, there's no legitimate explanation for this kind of act to be carried out.
As we approach the top of the hour here on a story that's been with us since just before news time at 5 o'clock here on Fox 5, something that's happening literally in our own backyard here, so close to the station, where one of our own employees heard the gunfire as he walked out to go to the parking lot to go home for the weekend, and ran back into our assignment desk and said, "Hey guys, something's unfolding really close to us, because I just heard long rifles being fired," and he was right. This is a shot from the traffic camera on Clifton Road of the scene right now, and you can see it's still very active as the investigation into what happened here and the motives of this person that carried out the gunfire today begin to be realized. But this just happened right before 5 o'clock, when the gunfire rang out at the CVS drugstore there on Clifton Road, right across the street from the heavily fortified CDC campus, where gunfire struck one of their impact-resistant windows high above the CDC campus, not one, but two, and perhaps even three of their buildings. And so as the days unfold, we're going to learn what the motivation of this shooter was.
That's right. And police declining to specify what kind of weapon was used, although it was almost certainly, I mean, I don't want to speculate, but again, our marketing director, who overheard the shots, thought it sounded like a rifle.
And who's familiar with guns, by the way.
Familiar with guns. I mean, it's got to be a certain kind of firearm to reach the distance and also the height at which you can see those bullet holes that were in the glass there. I don't want to really call them holes, because we don't know if the bullets or rounds actually made it through the glass, but definitely damaged them to a significant degree. But again, as we're hearing about the moments that officer, that DeKalb County officer, confronted the shooter, it's just really stunning. We heard from Darren Shearbaum that he was critically injured already when the Atlanta police officers arrived on scene around 4:50. So very clearly the shots started, the shooter was confronted. That all must have happened so quickly for that officer to confront him alone.
And then we learned that the officer lost his life doing just that, from the DeKalb County CEO and the interim chief just a few moments ago. Let's listen.
But what I can say, it is with profound sadness that we announce the loss of the life of one of our very own DeKalb County police officers. This officer responded to the call as he was trained to do. And during that incident, he received gunfire and he lost his life in this incident. He was committed to serving the community. At this time, we're asking for the community's prayers for his family, his friends, his loved ones, and the entire DeKalb County Police Department family. It's a noble profession that we all do. We answer the call to serve our community, and he gave his life with a commitment to serve others, and he should be respected for that. At this time, we are not going to release his name with respect for the family, but we will provide his name and photograph at a later time. We ask for your prayers and your thoughts during this difficult time, especially for his family and for all of the officers involved in this incident and the DeKalb County Police Department.
This evening there is a wife without a husband. There are 3 children, one unborn without a father. There is a mother and a father, as well as siblings, who also share in this traumatic loss. Let's join together to give this family the support that it needs during this traumatic loss.
Fox 5's Kim Loeffler was at that news conference when it happened. Kim, the emotions palpable out there. Give us your perspective from when you were listening to those two officials from DeKalb County.
Yeah, it was a very heavy moment. You can certainly see the emotion in their faces, as well as from the other law enforcement officials who were there to support them, including the DeKalb County Sheriff, Melanie Maddox, as well as Sheriff Patrick Labatt from Fulton County, who were all there. Certainly a really tough evening for the law enforcement community here. Again, we got confirmation that that officer did pass, responding to the call just down the road from where we are here along Clifton Road. In fact, I'm going to step out and you can still see the amount of law enforcement presence that's here at this hour. It's been like this ever since we first got on scene here right around 6:45 this evening. Now, again, as you heard, they're not identifying the officer at this point, but you can certainly tell that this is a very difficult loss for not just the DeKalb County Police Department, but the entire law enforcement community here in the Atlanta area. Of course, we are expecting to learn more about this officer in the coming days, but it's clear to see that the officer certainly made an impact here in DeKalb County. Guys?
Yeah, just unconscionable to think about leaving behind a wife, 2 kids. Sounds like that wife had another baby on the way. And yeah, just clearly a very emotional time for all the people connected to this law enforcement officer.
Yeah,
Kim,
and
thanks.
They're not going to release his name or his photo until the family has a chance to process their unimaginable loss. Let's get out to Eric Perry. Eric, you were one of the first reporters on the scene, and something interesting happened while all of this was unfolding, or in the aftermath of it. We saw somebody getting arrested, and I don't know if it was just me, but I saw, like, was he wearing a badge or something? Who was this person?
Yeah, Tom, Courtney. So we saw someone in handcuffs, hands behind his back. It was a clear sight, and it looked like they had placed him inside that police car. Of course, we all saw it and didn't know what was happening. Well, probably about an hour or so afterwards, we saw him off to the side over there. In fact, he's still over there. He said that he was just in his car when all of this happened, and then I think in the confusion, he said that police might have thought he was involved, so that's why he was detained in all of this. They later released him. He had a good sense of humor about it, but he said he was just honestly in the area when all of this unfolded, and with investigations like this and a large sweep, police are just being very careful that if you were there in that scene, they want to make sure that you had some sort of explanation or reason before they let you go there as well. So he is free, so we wanted to make sure that we clear that up as well. He did have some sort of badge. I couldn't tell exactly where it was there, but he was just in his car, and police have since let him go. And before I go, I just want to move out of the way just to show you the sea of blue lights here. I think Kim Loeffler mentioned this, or maybe Russ Spencer mentioned this. We've been on several active shooter situations and scenes like this. This is one of the most police presence, or heaviest police presence that I've seen. This is up, of course, by the CDC across from the CBS, but the police still all the way lined down Clifton Road, all the way to the Briarcliff, which is a good half mile, if not longer. And there's still other officers going in and out of that as well. Of course, we'll be out here all throughout the night. I've been talking with people, and we'll have the latest when you join us at 10 after that game. Tom, Courtney.
Wow, just stunning details coming out about that arrest. Eric, thanks.
We'll have so many more details after the game. Thanks for joining us here on Fox Local for our continued